welcome back to the channel. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Eduardo Corassa, and he's a clinical nutritionist and a raw vegan. He's been raw vegan for 17 years now, just over 17 years, and he's also the author of 10 books. But I'd rather let Dr. Corassa introduce himself. So if you can just give a little account of your story, because it resonates quite a lot with me, especially being a gamer. I used to be a gamer. So if you can just share your story, that would be great. How you got into the raw foods.
For sure. Yeah. Starting with my background, I went to nutrition university. I wrote 10 books. I have a TED Talks on the Eden's diet, like a frugivore diet. It's already more than 1 million followers in Brazil. I'm probably the main public speaker for raw foods in Brazil nowadays, and I lecture internationally. It's been a quite fun journey, and then I started all that because I was really sick child when I was young. And I actually became a professional Counter-Strike player when I was 17 years old. So I traveled the globe, Sweden, France, United States, and a lot of other countries, Korea, to play Counter-Strike, right? To compete as a cyber athlete, a professional cyber athlete. And then I already had really terrible lifestyle habits since I was young. I didn't know better, right? And when I started Counter-Strike, because we were 17 years of age, we were making some good money for the time and for our ages back then. So I didn't know I had to take care of myself. So I was drinking, smoking, eating junk food, being sedentary because we played for 8 hours a day.
Wow.
So I ended up getting a lot more sick than I was. I didn't realize that I was sick, and I didn't realize that I was living a bad lifestyle. You were alive, right? Everybody does things like that, right? So you don't just question. And then I started going to a lot of medical doctors because of allergies, nose issues, like I couldn't breathe through one nostril. I had terrible back pains, weak immune system, but I was just trying to play Counter-Strike better, actually.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware that was, a sign of sickness and that I was going to die early. I was just trying to play Counter-Strike better. And then when I realized that what I was doing to me, to my health, I was like, all these medical doctors, they were obese and they were like, trying to cure me, but it was just pills and surgery. And I was like, I'm 22 years of age. I don't want to go through surgery and cut my nose, cut my back, and they were even saying that wouldn't take me any far, right? Like it was going to help a little bit, but not like heal myself.
Yeah.
My back pain or
just treat the symptoms.
Yeah. They said like, the surgery helps, but you were born with this. So this back pain, this allergy and respiratory issues, it's not going to get that better. And I was like, and I went to a nutritionist back then because of the Counter-Strike. We had a Swedish coach that was from Ninjas in Pajamas. It was one of the best teams back there. So he was our coach, and he suggested, you guys have to go to the nutritionist, have to go to a personal trainer to train every day. And I saw improvements when I started exercising every day. And I saw not just in my health, but in my game. And I was just worrying about playing better, right? So after that, I started realizing that everything that we do to ourselves influences our performance. So if I want to be better in my work, if I want to be better in my sport, if I want to be more intelligent, if I want to be more reproductive, yeah, every part of your body functions according to your health. So if you want to, your muscles to work better, your mind to work better, your immune system to work better, your penis or your vagina or your,
Yeah.
the spermatogenesis, the creation of new sperm or the creation of new eggs, woman, that all depends on health, how well you're nourished, how well you're like living. So when I realized that, I was like, I want to be the best I can be, like I don't want to be second best, third best. I was competitive back then. I still is, but I'm still it. I am, I'm still competitive, but like,
Yeah.
And then, after going to several years for medical doctors and then trying naturopathic medicine, naturopathic doctors, osteopathy, chiropractors, after trying all that jumbo mumbo, abracadabra, hocus pocus magic, I realized that I found raw foods. And I was like, I tried everything, but I didn't try to live like an animal and to eat like an animal, because 700,000 species lives on the planet and they all eat raw foods. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And then when I tried, most of my symptoms went away in like 3 days. I could think better. I could run better. I could, exercise better. I could do everything that I did way much better. I was like, how didn't nobody talked about this? How didn't I found this before? Because it's so simple, right? It's so obvious, but nobody realized it. And then I was impressed. I was hooked. And that was, the journey that got me here. I went to nutrition school. I went to nutrition university. I went to do all these things, the YouTube channel, the diplomas, etc., just because I wanted the world to get what I was getting, the cure of my issues, the benefits, it was so many good things that I had to share. That's why I do what I do today. For 17 years, I have been sharing this message with the Brazilian public, and now I want to spread my work to English as well. I actually translated one of my first books, The Hygienic Fasting, Nature's Surgery, to English, and is available on Amazon, on print on demand, in Kindle, because I think I have a lot to share. The raw food movement, they're right in most things, but they make some mistakes in terms of like lifestyle medicine, and also they don't understand too much about nutritional science. People get too much to the religious part, get too much to, to the energy part. But if you don't get the science right, you make some mistakes along the way. So for example, in the last 7 years, I have paid attention a lot more to chronobiology and chrononutrition, something that nobody talks in the raw food movement. But if you eat late at night, even if it's raw foods, it's still harmful for your body. You still turn on pro-inflammatory genes. If you see light at night, your glucose metabolism, your glucose homeostasis is impaired. So it's not just, raw foods and everything will be okay. If raw food would be the only solution, you would look at, for example, Okinawas. 70% of their diet is sweet potatoes. How did they get to 100 if cooked food's so toxic as people think? For sure, I'm not saying it's not. There's the Maillard reaction end products. There's a lot of things to consider, but, so that's pretty much my story. I got in love by natural hygiene. After finding raw foods, I failed miserably for 2 months. I was getting too thin, like I was feeling a lot better. And I knew I was in the right path, but I didn't know the details. And then I went to the internet again. I started looking again. And thankfully, ended up stumbling upon the work of Dr. Douglas Graham, the author of the 80-10-10 diet and the father of the frugivore movement. And I asked him in his forum, like, who should I study? I want to know more about this. And he said, like, Dr. Herbert Shelton. And I started studying Herbert Shelton's books and, work. And I was amazed. They're both impressive, and they're both my main mentors in this journey. And I was not just amazed by my results. I was amazed that I needed to share this message with the world. So I think in the last 17 years, dedicating my life to it, I managed to improve, to move forward the message, to move forward the movement, and to make the science more understandable for the layperson, so they can apply in their daily lives. So now I attend patients, and like there's not just one answer. Like, people usually come to me because I have like several documentaries on fasting. When I do long water fast and I record the documentaries, there's one with going to 2 million views on YouTube.
Wow.
I did a 39-day water fast last year, and people always come to me like wanting to fast. And I say, like, fasting is just one small part of natural hygiene. If you connect all the dots and all the parts and you make that, really well, then you have perfect health. So I got it. When I did my first 24-day water fast, 6 months after starting the diet, I was crying in the end of the fast. And I swear to myself, I was crying of happiness, not of sadness. It was such an amazing moment. And I swear to myself that I was going to not allow people to suffer as much as I did when I was young. So, that's pretty much the story. I got in love by the health science that we call natural hygiene. And I think the most important message that we need to spread to the world.
For sure. Amazing. And that's another thing, like, that really, I really like about yourself is the scientific application. Because for a lot of the, like you say, the raw food community, we feel amazing, and you've got people saying it's like a miracle diet, and it is truly a really great diet, but there's not a lot of science. There's quite a lot of, as people would say, woo-woo, like mystical stuff. And the good thing is science can actually explain it. Maybe science is a little bit behind the times. Maybe it's only catching up to what ancient people have been talking about for years. But for me, I've got a very logical brain like yourself. When I hear the science, it just makes complete sense. So from the performance aspect, when you can like measure and track things, it's amazing. So I'd love to dive into some of the science and things like that.
For sure. Yeah. Ask me anything about it.
Yeah.
I know a lot, and what most people don't talk in the raw food movement. And I'm pretty sure that's one of my main contributions to the raw food movement.
For sure. Definitely. I've got loads of questions. So in terms of like, just quickly, your story, the benefits. So you had allergies, you had back pain. Didn't you have like diabetes? Did you say?
Exactly. I had type 2 diabetes. I had back pains. I had allergies. I had like terrible immune system. Like every month would get like 5 days fever, like for 5 days in a month, fever. I had terrible performance, not just mental performance, but like physical performance, like in sports. So it was such a pleasure to to become healthy and like to have improved in everything. People say to me nowadays, like, you're so intelligent. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just taking more care of my brain than most people. Because, for example, the Maillard reaction end products are the cooked food toxins. I mean, like Maillard was a scientist more than 100 years ago that discovered that when you cook a potato, there's toxins that appear in the potato that were not there. They're mutagenic, carcinogenic, clastogenic, pro-inflammatory, gerontotoxins, genotoxic, cytotoxic. So these toxins cause DNA damage, cell damage. They cause cancer. They cause mutations in your DNA. They are aging toxins, gerontotoxins. They are clastogenic. They break the chromosomes. They also are pro-inflammatory. That's one of the main causes of all chronic diseases. So these cooked food toxins are well established. So they, just to answer your question, these toxins actually are neurotoxins as well. So they cause neurodegeneration and brain atrophy, as science has proved again and again. So if you have high level AGEs in the blood, AGEs is one of the more than 400 cooked food toxins. AGEs stands for advanced glycation end products. So when you cook, you form several different toxic compounds. For example, if you cook meat, you're forming even different kind of cooked food toxins that are not formed in vegetables. There are the heterocyclic amines and hydrocarbon polycyclic aromatic. Yeah, in English it's
wow, that's a mouthful. Yeah,
yeah. You have to translate the terms. Maybe I missed one word or two, but everybody knows that are the toxins that are formed by grilling and barbecuing the meat. So these cooked food toxins, for example, the AGEs, the advanced glycation end products, is one of the most studied toxins, and they are found in cancer tissues. They are diabetogenic. They are pro-atherosclerotic. I mean, that causes heart disease. They are involved in autoimmune diseases, coronavirus, COVID. If you have COVID and have higher levels of AGEs, you have more complications. They are involved in every kind of damage to your systems, to your organs, and even to your brain. So we know that fruits and vegetables and a healthy lifestyle is neuroprotective and neurogenic. That means that protects your neurons and also forms new ones. But the Maillard reaction end products, even more the AGEs, but also others are involved in neurotoxicity as well. Acrylamides and acroleins are also neurotoxins. So these AGEs are damaging your brain. So people don't understand why they're not as smart as they should, as intelligent as they should. They're eating a lot of cooked food toxins, and fruits have phytonutrients that are actually neurogenic. These phytonutrients, these colors in fruits and vegetables are actually stimulating our brain, what we call the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, to be produced and to stimulate neurogenesis. So it's pretty impressive that you can be a way much better version of yourself just by taking care of yourself. I love saying by Leonardo da Vinci, the artist.
Yeah.
He used to say, beauty and vitality are gifts from nature for who follow their law, who follow nature's laws.
Yeah.
So it's obvious. They knew back, like you said, primitive people, and even more along the history, people that were more in contact with nature, they could differentiate and they could be aware of what the science is proving nowadays. So if you want to be more intelligent, it's just eat more fruits and vegetables, exercise, and sleep earlier. They are all neuroprotective habits.
Amazing. So yeah, so this BDNF, I think it was talked about in the book Return to the Brain of Eden. Have you read it?
Yeah,
I think it's
I read the book.
Yeah,
but it's pretty famous in science because it's the main substance produced by the body to generate new neurons and to protect the body, protect the brain.
So what you're saying for the audience, for the listeners, is if you eat more fruit, it basically helps to expand your brain. And
let's go. The the book actually suggests that fruits help us to expand our brains. I also believe that, but it's still not uh, sure in science if our brains were expanded by fruits. But we have an article in Nature that because primatologists back then and science in general believed that primates were more intelligent because of our social nature. We have to be social to protect ourselves in nature, communicate. There's a predator there, there's fruit over there. And they believe that was what made the human brain increases in size and become more intelligent than other animals. But then the science now is getting more clear that what actually improved our brains were our diets. So now we have data that primates are more intelligent because of fruits. So that's well established. But in human beings, it's hard because you have bias, you have, but for sure, I believe that fruits improved our brain throughout evolution through a genetic loop. Like everything in evolution is what we call transgenerational epigenetics. So that means for the next generation, epigenetics is the expression of genes. You can turn on and turn off the genes as by what you do in your daily living. So by eating fruits nowadays, you're methylating your genes. So you're expressing them in a different way. So that will be passed on through generations and through millions of years. You had a brain increase. I believe that there's not well established in science, but we know that fruits and vegetables are neurogenic, create new neurons. And we know that cooked food is actually causing brain atrophy. Yeah, not cooking food actually, but the lack of phytonutrients and these cooked food toxins are actually causing damage to our brain. So I think it's a pretty good theory that the authors have come upon in The Brain of Eden.
Yeah, for sure. And can you just, for the audience, can you explain a little bit about natural hygiene? Because for a lot of people, they're still of the belief that we're carnivores and like we're hunter-gatherers, we've always eaten meat. So can you shed a bit of light on like the history and why man is like a frugivore?
For sure. Natural hygiene is what we call the science of health. It was actually created in America, in the United States, by a man called Isaac Jennings. He was a medical doctor and he was not happy with the results that he had. He was like, he couldn't cure his patients as well as he thought he could. And then he started like, he tried an experiment. He started giving placebo pills to his patients, saying that the placebo pills would only work if they sleep early, if they exercise, if they eat their fruits and vegetables, if they get their sunshine. So he knew that it wasn't because of the placebo pills. He knew it was the lifestyle medicine that he was applying. But back then, you don't have even the terminology. You didn't have the science, and medical doctors were even more, hard to understand, hard to deal with it. Like, we were always called quacks. All our natural hygienists were always called quacks because there were no science 200 years ago to suggest that diet was the main impact on lifestyle, on longevity and health. There was no science to suggest that the human beings should clean their bodies, should take sunshine for vitamin D. There was no science for that. And the modern science is one of the good things about it, that we can prove what we knew 200 years ago. So Jennings was actually ostracized and prohibited to practice medicine because he came up to the public 5 years after he became quite famous in the United States for curing a lot of patients, a lot of incurable diseases. And he came to the public and said, like, I'm not doing anything. You are healing yourself by living a healthy lifestyle. It's not the pills. The pills are fake. And he was like, he got hated, but he wrote
Mm.
books, what he called orthopathy, the name of natural hygiene back then. That means right disease. So disease is rightful action. It's actually not like a chaotic like the medical profession suggests. It's not like something that invades your body and destroys everything, and you don't
Yeah.
have anything to, you don't have control over it. You do have control. It's what you do every single day in every kind of detail that matters the most.
Hmm.
And that's what I try to understand, make my patients and my audience understand, that these small details that we don't even think about it, like 1 hour less of sleep, going to night at 9 p.m. instead of going to night at 8 p.m. It's damaging your body. There's no right and wrong. There's only consequences. I'm not suggesting that you cannot sleep at midnight. You can, but your health is not going to be as good as, and you're not going to be as longevous as you can be. That means
Mm.
like it's like the plants on my garden. I have like 350 fruit trees on my yard.
Wow.
But if I plant like apple trees over here, I'm in Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is really hot for like apple trees.
Yeah.
So they die. But if you plant jackfruit trees, mango trees, banana trees, I don't even have to take care of them. They're so resistant, so resilient. They grow in every kind of soil. You give them bad soil, they're giving fruit. It's impressive. So it's the same for human beings. We are not plants, but we can survive, die, or thrive depending on the conditions that you provide. So that's why I talk so much in the social media about providing biological needs. There were biological needs adapted through millions of years of evolution to us. So we're adapted to fruits and vegetables. We're adapted to getting a lot of sunshine. We're adapted to sleeping early. We're not nocturnal creatures. We are diurnal creatures. So people nowadays watching Netflix until midnight
Hmm.
and having dinner at 11 p.m. You can do it. It's not that you can't, but you're going to face the consequence. A little bit of the consequences right now, but the biggest consequences will be later in life. That's for sure.
Definitely. Definitely. So, yeah, what I love something you said earlier on, just a few minutes ago. Yeah.
So, sorry, just
No.
to finish it up. Natural hygiene then is a model of medicine, a model of lifestyle medicine. Like there's allopathic medicine, the usual medicine. There's homeopathic medicine. There's Chinese medicine. There's Ayurveda, the Indian medicine, and there's natural hygiene. We are completely opposed to all these other medicines. Even the
Mhm.
naturopathic medicines, the natural medicines, the natural cures, we are completely opposed to it because we're not trying to cure disease. We're trying to produce health. We are
Mm.
not healers. We are teachers. It's completely different. We don't propose to heal nobody. We propose to teach the person how to live healthfully and their body can heal themselves and maintain homeostasis, that like an equilibrium of health. So it's that simple. Natural hygiene is just lifestyle, a medicine model that's based only on lifestyle. That means we heal, we allow the body to heal with fasting, with diets, with sunshine, with pure air. There's, for example, I'm looking at my mango trees, the office doors open, right?
Wow.
So the trees actually secrete phytoncides. There are gases that we inhale. The gases are invisible, but we know now by science that these gases are inhaled by us and they help our immune system. They help to fight cancer. They help to reduce the blood glycemia, the blood glucose, the glycemia. So, you know, there's nobody talking about phytoncides as a remedy for diabetes or cancer, but we know by science that that actually works. So it's pretty crazy if you think about it. But, like nobody's making money out of phytoncides, invisible gases secreted by
No.
trees. And that's why people are not talking about, but there is well dated in the science. So if you put all together these small details, you're going to have your perfect health for 120 years. That's what I'm talking to people, and they can even not realize it. Like, oh, just one pizza here, just one day of being sedentary, just one day of watching Netflix until late at night, just 1 month in the city. Just you're choosing, and you can choose anything. But if you want perfect health, there's no shortcuts. There's no pills and potions and surgeries that can improve your health. You're only going to have penalties for it, in my humble opinion.
For sure. You definitely have to repay your debts with health. All the damage you do to yourself, you have to pay it back somehow. So just quickly on the carnivore thing, why are we like frugivores and not carnivores?
Yeah, for sure. Evolution is going on, or life in the planet starts with single cells that we call prokaryotes.
Prokaryotes.
Yeah. It's that name in English, right?
Yeah.
So it was simple cells without all these organelles inside of it, right? And for example, even fungi, like the first cells in the planet, they had fasting. They had the mechanism to repair themselves, and they had the mechanism to grow. If they have food, they grow. If they don't have food, they enter a repairing mode that is conservation mode. So these all came from the first. So we have this fasting mechanism in an homologous method that these fungi in the start of life on planet. So it's a pretty similar mechanism, just a little bit of change, but it's still the same throughout evolution. So evolution conserves all these biological pathways, biological mechanisms. So if you take a look, rats can fast, primates can fast, reptiles can fast. If you cut out a limb of an axolotl, it's a small reptile, it can grow a new limb.
Amazing.
The animal can, if you cut out the limb of the animal, like a tail or a arm, the animal starts to fast and grow a new limb. So it's pretty impressive what evolution does. So all these biological mechanisms, all these biological needs, like sunshine, air, exercise, are adapted to animal life since the beginning of the planet. So the animal life adapts to what it have done for millions of years, and also have adapted to, for example, when we came out of the ocean from reptiles to mammals, we start to divide in several different kinds of creatures, right? So there were creatures that were carnivores, there were creatures that were herbivores, and there are also creatures that became frugivores. But there are insectivores, there are nectarivores. That means hummingbirds, they eat nectar. Small primates and other kinds of animals, they eat insects as their primarily fuel. That doesn't mean that a cat can eat grass. And, that doesn't mean when you say carnivore, herbivore, frugivore, you can see a herbivore like a horse eating a fruit. And it's okay with it. It's not like he's going to die of malnutrition. It's like human beings. We can eat meat. But the perfect kind of the Goldilocks in terms of proportion of nutrients happens always with the food that we were symbionts throughout evolution. I mean that we are anthropoid primates by our biology. If you take a look, the opposable thumbs, the capacity to see color, the capacity to sense the sweet taste, the stereoscopic vision that you can see pretty good, the distance of everything that is in front of you, the brachiation of our shoulders, that we can move from side to side to fruit trees. There's a lot of uh, one of the most basic ones. We have 2 feet, 2 arms, and opposable thumbs. Only primates have these, right? So I could talk about anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry for hours to show every kind of detail. So we in a comparative anatomy, we use this science, this part of science in anatomy, to show that each class of animal have quite similar traits, anatomical traits, to allow it to eat the food that it's supposed to. That means nature made us with tools in our anatomy, tools in our biochemistry and physiology to determine our natural food. For example, if anatomy follows physiology, form follows function. For example, if you take a look at birds, they can fly. They have wings for flying. They have beaks to pick out a small grain, and they have a pouch to sprout the grain. It's quite obvious they are granivores. By our biology, they are classified. The birds are the only animals that are made to eat the food from the grasses, the grains, the cereals. That's why they can sprout the cereal. They can pick out the small quinoa grain. How are you going to eat quinoa in the wild? It's so small. It's not tasty at all. It's bland. It's tough, right? So you start realizing that, we can eat anything after cooking, but that doesn't make us biological omnivores. That makes us synthetic omnivores, no natural omnivores. That means that cooking allows us to be omnivores, not our biology as every other really omnivore animal in the planet. So it's up to you guys, but I prefer to eat fruit because we were made throughout evolution uh, primate animals and animals made for fruits. So the nutrition part, the taste part, the raw parts all comes together when you think about it. For example, if you cook the food, you're going to form cooked food toxins and you're going to lose nutrients. So, why cooking the food if you can eat it raw, if every other animal eats raw? If you take a look at the part of nutrition, fruits and vegetables have the most perfect combination of nutrients to allow us to thrive. According to the science, you can take a look at epidemiology. You'll see that fruits and vegetables are always inversely correlated with chronic disease, what we call morbidity and mortality. That means like when people that eat more fruits and vegetables have less disease and die less from these diseases, from all causes. All causes, that means that all kinds of diseases, from heart disease, cancer, diabetes, etc. So, all angles that you look at, we are still anthropoid primates. We didn't have evolved to eat cooked food. We didn't, it's silly. But like all animals in the planet, if you take a look at a dog or a cat, we all know that cats are carnivores. But now we are feeding them with whiskas. It's processed meat with preservatives and wheat and even carrots. Once I took a look at a package of food for animals, industrialized food for animals, and it was like carrots. I was like, what? Carnivore eating carrots and wheat, and they survive, but they cannot thrive on processed food with carrots. It's not their perfect nutrition, but like every other animal in the planet, we can survive eating any kind of crap. People survive eating French fries, McDonald's, like Burger King. Why can't you survive on meat and potatoes? but that's not perfect nutrition.
Definitely. And do you think people see some like short-term benefits on the carnivore diet just because they're cutting out all the processed foods? Is that why? Because some people, they might see short-term benefits. So why might they see these benefits even though they're eating like suboptimal food?
Excellent question. I think also not just because of that. I also think that because meat is way more natural to us than all the industrialized crap that they are eating. You know, it's still a food because industrialized food, that's one of my main messages also to the vegan movement is that not because of ethics, but because of nutrition, I think meat, eggs, fish is better than the industrialized crap that we call vegan food. Like vegan
Impossible
burgers,
burger.
vegan. Yeah. So like for sure, people used to live to 100 eating a little bit of meat here and there, but nobody's going to live to 100 eating vegan industrialized food. Like it's toxic. So like that's why one of the things that I think about the carnivore movement, and for sure, there's a lot of questions to talk about it, because when you eat primarily meat, you go into ketosis, and that's somewhat of fasting. People can probably be also caloric restricting. There are also some, for example, if you have a chronic inflammatory bowel disease, you cannot digest fiber. So if you take a look and if you think about it, these people can try to eat healthy plant foods, but have like terrible stomach ache, terrible stomach pain, because they're already sick. So when they expose themselves to these fiber or anti-nutrients, they end up having a lot of symptoms. And you have to think about even more, because they're coming out of crab food to carnivore, but they never tried a raw food diet. Imagine if they were sprouting the chickpeas they're eating, sprouting the lentils. For sure, there's difference on several different aspects, from cooking to sprouting, or maybe they're even frying their lentil, like they're throwing oil on top of it, and even more. When you go carnivore, keto, or vegan, a lot of people that are doing these diets changings, they're looking for health. So you went carnivore, but now you're exercising and sleeping earlier, and
Combination.
there's always that's why we use in epidemiology, we cut out the confounding factors. So we cannot do a study on what diet's better, like try the same diet on us, but you smoke and I drink. So what is worse, smoking and drinking? You get mixed results. You have to get a homogeneous population. Like we don't drink, we don't smoke, we have the same diet, and then you can see the outcomes, right? You just change one aspect, and then you see the outcomes.
Definitely. So I'm quite curious, and I'm sure the audience are quite curious, what like a day in the life looks like for you. So could you run us through just things like your diet, what times you eat, your exercise, just like a typical day, and maybe just like a tiny little explanation why you do that? So maybe if it's because of the chronobiology or things like that. Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Just before starting the interview, a guy that works here, I'm doing like a construction. I run retreats here, my place, right? We have a tennis court. We are 3 blocks from the beach. We have 350 fruit trees on the yard. So I'm getting the place that we run the retreats bigger. And the guy that works here with me, the construction worker, he just brought me avocados. So we are in the countryside, right? So these black avocados are so sweet, soft, and so good. And what's the deal? That's why I showed the avocados. I eat fruit because it's the most tasty food in its raw state. It's already cooked by the sun. It's already seasoned by God. Or if you want to,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not religious or anything. I'm just, trying to reach all kinds of different publics, but, it's all actually already seasoned by our DNA, our tongue. We have a DNA, we have like a gene that is codified that comes to the tip of our tongue and allow us to sense the sweet taste. So that is, you know, the 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 Papa chimp, the old chimp, the chimp father
Yeah.
doesn't need to say to his children, to his son, kid, you have to eat bananas because it's healthy for you. The chimp already knows what to eat.
Mm.
It's in his neurocircuitry is already adapted to that. So I try to live as healthy as I can and according not just to the science, but also to my biological indications, by my instincts, by my this neurocircuitry. So I wake up as soon as the sun rises, because when the sun hits our skin, hits our eyes, that raises our cortisol level and drops the melatonin level. So you
Mm.
get like, woof, I'm awake.
Yeah.
So I fast until around noon every single day. It depends if I play tennis, if I get hungry a little bit early after some intense exercise, but I fast until noon. But like around 10 a.m., usually 10:30, I go out to the gym, lift some weights and run or play tennis. I love to play tennis. It's actually the longevity sport. So, I only not only love the sport, but also now I know that's the sport most correlated with longevity, right?
Mm.
So I play tennis, I surf, or I run to the gym and lift weights. I do calisthenics, I do gardening because dig up holes, big holes for planting some saplings. Like I'm here also in my site. There's sempedak, durians, and
Oh, wow.
cherimoyas, but planted, still small, right?
Hmm.
I'm trying to grow them by seed. Uh, so to dig up big holes to put these trees on the ground, it's hard work. It's a good exercise.
Hmm.
So uh, I do a lot, at least 1 hour to 1 hour and a half, maybe two, even more sometimes of exercise, and then I break my fast. I break my fast and have the biggest meal around noon, and I try to make like I make usually a fruit meal around 2 or 3 kilos. Maybe I can eat some nuts and seeds, or I can even eat some vegetables, but mostly fruit, uh, at lunch. And then I, after lunch, I maybe work a little bit from the cell phone, and then I take a siesta. That means the 6 hour in Latin, the small nap during
Yeah.
afternoon.
They love them in
That's what,
Spain.
yeah. There's a cortisol drop around noon. So that means the cortisol drop is the cue for animals to actually rest a little bit and then to get on with their life. So these siesta is already, for example, there was a research from Harvard in 2007 in Greece that showed that when Greece tried to abolish the siesta, heart disease uh, raised in 28% or 35% or something like
Wow.
that. Yeah, they started like having more heart disease just because of losing half an hour to an hour of siesta every day. So
Hmm.
it's pretty impressive what the science shows, but also it's pretty impressive that everybody feels, you know, a little bit sleepy around noon. It's
Yeah,
normal.
it's
Even
true.
if you're a raw fooder, you feel a little bit sleepy because we're made to sleep at that time. When Herbert Shelton, I read Shelton's books like 17 years ago. My dad had a parrot, right? He had like two parrots on our house, and the parrots actually at noon. I don't agree with that, by the way. I'm, like, I don't agree with animal, uh, you know, locking a animal in a cage or even letting him loose. But, anyway, he had it. So the two parrots after lunch, they were always going to the shade and taking a nap. It was like, it's even the animals do it. It's pretty
intuitive.
Exactly. So, and then after the siesta, I come back to work a little bit more. And then around 5:30 p.m., I prepare dinner and eat dinner preferably before 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I don't do circadian lighting as I teach my patients. I actually just stay in the dark with the cell phone and the laptop, work a little bit more with blue light filters, and then I go to bed. I try to sleep at around 8 p.m. But sometimes you can't, right? Like yesterday, I did a live. I played tennis until 7, and then I had to go dinner. I ended up like throwing the compost in the compost bin. I ended up sleeping 10:40. But most of the days I try to live hygienically to my perfection.
Definitely. Would good. So what do these meals typically consist of? Like, so the lunch when you break your fast at noon, what kind of fruits will it be like a mono meal, or will it be a mixture, or what do you like to eat?
It depends. It depends too much on the season. It depends a lot on several different aspects, right? But for example, when it's persimmon season, I don't want anything else than persimmons. I can eat like 20 persimmons in a row. When it's now is jackfruit season and mango season here. The mangoes almost already ended. Just the farmers market mangoes I can get. I don't have mangoes from my trees or from organic mangoes from the region anymore. So I am eating mangoes, jackfruits, some plantains, and some papayas at the same meal nowadays. It's just because I run a retreat. There was some leftovers, and I'm running a lot. I'm eating the food that was the leftover.
Yeah.
But usually I like to do watermelon mono meals. It depends on the day and depends on the quality of the fruit. But nowadays, as I have always some fruit growing in the yard, I'm probably picking mulberries and sugar apples to eat as well today.
Nice. So, see, for me, it's quite normal to eat large amounts of fruit because I'm used to it now. I've adapted, but a lot of people struggle. So, have you got any tips for people to transition to this raw lifestyle?
For sure. There's many, but I think the biggest tip I can give everybody is study. People don't realize it. If I love tennis, right? If I see Novak Djokovic playing on TV on the biggest tournament, like, US Open, I can think it's like, wow, that's so cool. But I cannot do like that. I can play tennis pretty good, but like I cannot be half as good as he are. Why? Because the guy is studying, practicing for like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. That's quite simple. If I see a tango teacher and I see his moves and I know that he goes to the left and then the right and then front and then back. If I try to repeat a tango teacher and I never dance tango, I'm going to fail miserably. Although it can seem quite easy, it's not. You have to adapt your brain. You have to adapt, create new connections, new pathways to do that without even thinking about it. So the best tip I can give people, and that's why I wrote more than 10 books. I created 6 online courses. I run retreats and I attend patients because I can solve their problems. I can see because there's many tips, and depends on the person, depends on the case, depends on a lot of things, right? So I'm going to give some generic answers, but
Perfect.
it's like I say, Ronaldinho, or the one of the biggest soccer players in the world. It's like he was one of the best players in the world, but he still had a coach. Like these guys are so good, but they still have coaches, because when you have somebody helping you, watching you, you can improve a lot more. So it's the same with nutritionists and medical doctors. If they know what they're talking about, if they are in agreement, there's a little bit of more details over there, right? Because the medical doctor can be thinking you're crazy to wanting to live off raw foods. But so my main tip would be have guidance, have a professional with you, and read and study. That's why I wrote 10 books, because the books helped me a lot. I read like more than 100 raw food and nutrition books in my beginning, my first and second year. So that helped me a lot. And also, not just read and study, but apply, practice. That's one of, go onto my YouTube channel, learn a recipe, and go to do the recipe. And do the recipe 2 times, 3 times, and then learn a new recipe, go to the kitchen, go to the farmer's market, and try the recipe. You have to, repeat. It's overload. Everything in life. I had a tennis teacher, and he was like, my backhand's my worst stroke. So he had like overload, always on my backhand, because I already know the forehand. So it's, so I think that's the main tip for everybody. Study and practice. But for sure, it's as easy as eating more fruits and vegetables. But like in the beginning, I tried to eat pineapples and I burned my mouth because I didn't know the season of the pineapples. They were really unripe, I tried to bite into some sweet potato. So that's why you need study and somebody to guide you. It's way better. It's way easier. But for example, in my days back there, I couldn't afford to pay a consultation with Doug Graham, for example. I didn't know any other people that I could trust to do this kind of work. So I just study and try it all by myself. It works if you are really dedicated and if you have some time to lose, time to spare. So you can save time if you just, do this way.
Yeah. And health is the most important thing. So if we can't make time for improving our health, then I don't know what we can make time for. So
sure. Yeah, people don't understand that, but I agree.
Yeah, definitely. And Doug Graham and the 80-10-10 diet for me as well been a great help, and it's a really good foundational book as well. And yeah, so in terms of like diseases, what would you say? I'm not going to say cure because it's quite a censored word, but let's say reverse diseases. What kind of diseases can we reverse with this kind of lifestyle, like diabetes, things like that? What's the kind of science behind that? How it affects blood sugar and things like that?
I have seen many things, like impossible things along the years, and I continue to see it. But like I cannot, because it's complicated. Because, for example, first, it's how well the patient adopts the recommendation. Because it's one thing to have a consultation with me, the other thing is to adopt perfectly, right? So it depends on how well the person will practice hygiene. The second part is how well he have knowledge of the information. Because if he just follow me on Instagram and try to apply the things, he's not going to be aware of a lot of details. It's a lot of things to learn. So it's about your knowledge, how well you apply it, and how advanced, how progressed is the disease. That's also one of the main things. And for sure, fasting is the more intense, no intense, more. It can fasting has a long water fast has the capacity to heal way more than you can with with the perfect lifestyle. Unfortunately, uh, fasting for 40 days is not that easy
No.
still, but like it's it's needed. If you are too damaged, fasting it's the only way to get the reversal that you're looking for, the improvement that you're looking for, because the lifestyle can maintain health in some degree, but fasting can actually reverse a lot of the damage that we have done.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. We have science behind like diabetes, for example. A plant-based diet is probably that we have published it is the best way to treat diabetes. I also think I even think that a raw food diet would be it is even better, but we don't have science behind it. Cancer, we know that we can actually start to reverse with a plant-based diet. We have Orange research, and we have other researchers as well. Orange has shown that you can turn on and turn off 500 oncogenes, genes that promote cancer and genes that prevent cancer. You can turn it off and turn it on just by changing your diet to a plant-based diet. And heart disease as well, autoimmune diseases. That's the thing. People are just thinking about reversing the disease. I'm thinking about producing health, because you may not reverse the disease 100% like type 1 diabetes, but you can improve the quality and reduce the disease drastically. So I think that mindset, it makes people, I cannot cure my disease, so I'm going to live the same way that I created it and die earlier. Like it's crazy, but that's the way that people think. I'm just going to adopt this crazy lifestyle if I know I can cure my disease. And it's not like that. It's not as simple. Health and disease is the line that goes of before your birth to the end, to the last breath you have. So it's a continuum, and this continuum, it's not just the disease that you are seeing, not just the symptoms you're seeing, it's the function of the physiology behind it. I can have cancer, but if I'm taking care of myself, my brain will be working better, my muscles will be working better. I still have cancer, my body is still damaged, but I can work and be a lot better if I continue to take care of me, even though my body cannot reverse the cancer, So the disease doesn't limit you. You can do whatever you want, and you can be better even if you have the disease and the body cannot reverse it.
Definitely. We can just make the best choices in the moment. Yeah, exactly. Can we talk a little bit about fasting? Because I know, like you say, you did 2 fasts. One, was it 24 days and the other 40 days?
I did many.
Yeah. So
the longest was 39. The documentary is actually on my channel, my YouTube channel, and on Lawrence Lockman YouTube channel as well. I did my last 39-day water fast in Tanglewood. All the others I did at home. I don't recommend it doing at home, but I trust myself. I know what I'm doing. I studied a lot about it. I have really good control over my mind and body. And I also didn't have the money back then, right? When I started. Nowadays I have the money, but because for us going out Brazil to fast, spending like $8,000, $9,000, maybe $10,000 to spend like 2 months in a fasting facility, it's like spending $5,000, right? $50,000, sorry. $50,000.
Like your whole yearly salary.
Yeah, for us it's like 5 times more expensive, because $1 is like 5 reais. So it's way more expensive anything going to America, for example. So $50,000, you probably can buy a home over there, right? You can probably buy a house.
In America, or
Yeah, in America, right?
no, I don't. I don't think so.
At least a small apartment in the suburbs or something like that.
Mm, probably not. I think property is usually a few 100,000, but I don't know. It depends on the area.
Yeah,
But so,
yeah.
why did you do the fasting? Were you still
Uh,
diseased or still ill, or yeah? What? Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
talk me
Like,
through.
my health improved. Like, uh, that's why I'm still doing it after 17 years, right? I'm
Yeah.
still so happy about it, still so motivated about it. But like, for sure, I had like terrible issues with my back,
Mm,
and there's difference because after you build a house, you can repair, but you don't build the structure back. So my
mm,
bones were pretty thin when I was young. It's still thin. And I'm not going to build it back. That's what people don't realize, they don't understand it, is that after I build my bone structure, to undo it and build it again, it's impossible. I would have to die. So there's things in the blood like diabetes type 2, for example, is way easier to reverse than, for example, uh, herniated disc.
mm,
So there are things that actually the body cannot regenerate. There are things the body can regenerate, but it takes time and takes a long fast. So it depends on what we're talking about. Just blood issues, nutrition issues, or we are talking about anatomical issues. You know, it's like cutting out a limb, cut out your leg. Fasting is not going to regenerate.
yeah.
You can try to fast for like a year, but it's still not growing it back. So uh, I was trying to regenerate my back as most as possible and try to, improve every kind of physiological aspect. That's the thing. Fasting is not only about regeneration of damage. It's actually about getting healthier and healthier. Okay. So fasting is normal for nature, for all animals in nature. So that's one of important part that people don't realize it is that, I fast not just for repairing old damage that I did with 22 years of terrible lifestyle habits, drinking, smoking, and a lot of other stuff, but also, yeah. And this last 39-day water fast, I knew it. I already knew by studying Herbert Shelton's lectures, etc., that I could improve even more with a 39-day water fast because my longest was 24 and 23 before this 39. And yeah, it was quite impressive what I got. Uh, the, the back and the compressing of the muscles and the compressing of the vertebrae and the bruishes, it got a lot better. Even though with raw foods got better, but not that much.
Mhm.
This 39-day water fast did like some remarkable things.
Amazing. So, why do you think the fasting is maybe more effective than the raw foods? Is it because you're freeing up more energy? Is it like,
Uh, because you cannot do, the body can't do what he does fasting while you're eating. It's like
mm,
trying to stop in the garage and asking for the mechanic to fix your car while you're still driving. It's impossible, right? You have to
yeah,
change that. You have to stop so the body just focus on regenerating, repairing, and renewal of cells.
mhm,
And so we still don't know why, but it's the redirection of energy. Or you build or you repair. You cannot do the same thing properly at the same time. For sure, you repair while you're eating, and for sure, you can grow while you're fasting because you still have nail growth and hair growth while you're fasting. But like, it's not the same. It's
mhm,
not the same. The body puts effort. You can take a look at Walter's Longo research on fasting mimicking diet regenerates, induces NGN3 beta cell regeneration. That means that when he puts people on a fasting mimicking diet and even more mice, because he proved more stuff on mice than in humans, but he still proved in humans that there was a human trial on that research. He shows that you can induce a gene that is only turned on when you're in your mother's womb to produce the beta cells that are in your pancreas that actually produce the insulin. That's actually the cells that the type 1 diabetes has lost. Because type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease that attack the beta cell pancreas, the pancreas cells that we call the beta cells that produce insulin. So with that in mind, what can actually turn on a gene that is only turned on when you are in your mother's womb to produce beta cells, pancreas beta cells? It's like insane. Nothing do what a fasting can do. So we're still starting to prove this in science, but we hygienists know for a very long time.
Yeah, powerful. And what would you?
I actually have a bug on my laptop.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it land on the back of your laptop.
Yeah, that's funny. Being nature is like that, right? I'm in an office, but right outside there's like.
And what do you think about? Have you got time for a few more questions, by the way?
Really quick, but I do.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think about dry fasting? Because I hear a lot of controversy.
Insane. No science behind it, and no, at least no clinical. Because you have to take people that you trust. You have to take people that actually have done this for a long, long time. Herbert Shelton, for example, he fasted 40,000 people. Who I'm going to trust? A guy that just got into raw food and is talking about dry fasting, or Herbert Shelton that fasted people for 90 days, he had patients for 90-day water fast. I'm going to trust somebody that has done this for a long, long while. And there's no fasting supervisors that are really knowledgeable about it and can show science about it and can show even clinical benefits on it. So I think it's dangerous.
Definitely. Yeah. I think a few raw foodists have actually died who, practiced it. So yeah, I think I agree with you.
I didn't want to talk about it, but for sure. I agree.
Yeah. It's like you said, I think I'd rather follow like a proven path than take a unnecessary risk like that.
Animals drink while they fast. They don't drink a lot, but they still drink, why go against nature? The body needs water to detox and to break down stuff, water is needed.
Definitely. Okay. So on that note, we're going to end with a few rapid fire questions.
Sure.
So, I'm not sure if you've seen this before, but it's just, the idea is just try and answer the questions as fast as possible, basically, but feel free to elaborate if you need to.
Sure.
Okay, so describe yourself in one word.
Healing the world.
Yeah.
I'm trying. It can sound crazy, but I'm an Aquarius. I believe in zodiacs, and Aquarius are always trying to are a lot rational and are always trying to change the world in some way for the better. So I would like to see myself as a Darwin of medicine and nutrition one day. Somebody that brought a lot of good things that nobody saw before.
Yeah, I think, it's quite hard to summarize that in one word. So I'll let you have healing the world. Three words is acceptable.
Yeah.
What is one book that everyone should read before they die?
I truly believe I have done really an incredible job. This is still in Portuguese. I'm going to try to translate to English as well. This is the Diet of Eden, my main book on diet, and the Hygienic Fasting Nature Surgery that's already on Amazon. This is for sure the best booking on fasting in the world right now. I have read Shelton's work. I have read Furman's work. I have read a lot of other people's work. I have synthesized all the old writings with all the new science and put it together really comprehensive, really long book, and all numerical references. That means the bibliography of the research is all here. So you can read every kind of research, like the NGN3 beta cell driven regeneration from Longo, from, like clinical
Amazing.
applications from Shelton.
Uh-huh.
And the Eden's Diet is my main book, main diet book. That means, I talk about us being frugivores, but I also talk about the cooked food toxins, about the why we went out of the Garden of Eden, because geology shows that actually there was an ice age 100,000 years ago. And that's why we start cooking, because of the ice age and the lack of fruits and vegetables. And the ice age just ended 13,000 years ago. That is actually the Neolithical period, when around when it started, the Neolithical period, when we start planting seeds on the ground and we start growing grains and, the silos to store them, and we start cooking. So I show all the history, the mythology from the Greeks that they call, because we call the Garden of Eden, right? But the Greeks call the golden age of man. So I show the mythology, the history, the anthropology, the geology. I show all the science that come together to show that we were actually frugivores living in the Garden of Eden for millions of years, right? Yeah, for sure. Theology doesn't agree with we being here around millions of years, but anyway.
Amazing. So that's on Amazon, is it? And that's in English, the fasting book.
The fasting book is in English. The other is still in Portuguese, but it's going to be available, I hope, in a year or so.
Great. What's your greatest strength and your biggest weakness?
Being a visionary, and my biggest weakness would be maybe it's a strength as well, but not being too patient.
Yeah, me too.
I have to make things right away, right? If I have the idea, like I want for yesterday, not for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest strength is being a visionary. I usually catch up to the. I don't have emotional feelings about stuff, like I don't. I'm not going to do this because
Yeah, you have discipline.
Yeah.
Do you believe in having a purpose? If so, what is your purpose in life?
Yes, for sure. Ikigai, as Okinawa suggests. The purpose is one of the main things, even in health. But my purpose in life is to spread natural hygiene, make the world know what natural hygiene is. And actually, if we all would be natural hygienists, the world would become the Garden of Eden again. Imagine durians selling everywhere.
That's what I was saying to my parents. We need to, just spread the fruit message and make the world like that again. More fruit trees. I think it's only beneficial.
The guy's coming up to my headset.
Oh, poor little fella. And finally, imagine you're speaking to someone who feels like their life is at its lowest point. So like someone depressed. What piece of advice would you give them?
Eat fruit, be cute. For sure, diseases shouldn't be happening. We are just violating nature's laws. If you learn to apply these to your life, you can reverse the depression and feel like, paradise every single day in your life, because that's what been happening for me. 17 years of, the best quality of life ever.
Amazing. And where can the people find you? What have you got going on? What are your links? What would you like to
It's always
share?
Dr. Corassa, or even my name, Eduardo Corassa, or Saúde Frugal. Saúde Frugal means frugal health in English, right? Health based on fruits, or health based on simplicity, that means. And Dr. Corassa is my last name's Corassa, is Italian, so you can find me. Also, I have the social medias in Portuguese, but I also have the social medias in English. So, no, that's it. He's
if
pretty tied
people
up.
are watching on the video, they'll be able to witness a what is it? Is it a fly?
No, it's like a really small beetle.
Yeah.
Really tiny.
Yeah,
beetle.
yeah, I see him. Yeah, so you've got this social media, the books.
Yeah, Dr. Corassa in all medias, but I have Dr. Corassa Raw Food Nutritionist in TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. So it's still pretty small, but you know, I'm planning to grow because I know I can contribute a lot to the raw food movement.
You're too humble. Pretty small. It's over 1 million collective followers.
It's small in English. In English, it's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
2,000 each. You know,
But that'll grow. But yeah, thank you for joining me, and thank you for the listeners, the audience, and peace and love to everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.